In ancient Athens, sometimes beneath the shade of twisting olive trees and others in the lively hum of the agora, a revolutionary idea began to take root. It was a simple yet radical notion that would echo across millennia. Education could be for everyone. From these early conversations, a tradition emerged that traveled across continents and centuries. Great philosophical minds like Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle laid the groundwork for what became the foundation of Western education, a legacy that crossed the Atlantic and took institutional form in the New World with the founding of Harvard University in 1636. Nearly 200 years later, shaped by revolution, civil conflict, and global war, American higher education experienced a profound transformation. Once reserved for society's elite, universities expanded their reach and began preparing a broader share of the population with the specialized skills required by an increasingly complex industrial economy. As access widened, higher education shifted from an elite privilege to an expected milestone in American life courses, in what experts call the college for all narrative. By the time the nation stepped into the new millennium, that expectation had taken firm hold. College enrollment surged, growing by nearly 3 million students between 2006 and 2011, a period when the millennial generation flowed into campuses across the country. For many, college had become more than a choice. It had become a cultural promise, a perceived gateway to stability, opportunity, and a future worthy of the investment.
I remember as early as probably middle school being told by my parents that like college was the next step after high school. Really wasn't a choice. It was an expectation that I'd be going to a 4-year degree program. They were like, if you want to be able to get a well-paying job, you have to go to college. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like that's what you have to do. My mother was an immigrant, and so she finished high school when she got to America and went directly into the workforce and just kind of made her way up the ranks. And my father did not go to college just out of, he couldn't afford it. He came from a low income background. And so they both really wanted that for me. And they had both expressed to me when I was in high school that they felt like there was a stopping point in their career trajectory because they didn't have a college degree and there wasn't any more room for them to advance. And so they really didn't want that to be a barrier for me.
Education was big in my family always. I always was told I was going to college from when I was a baby. And I think that influenced me to stay in school.
If you go to college, you're going to get a degree and a good job's going to be waiting for you. And not only like from school, but you also like family, friends, people at our church, the older people in our lives, obviously like encouraging us to go to college because they had the idea that if you get that, they knew from their experience that if you go to college, you're going to get a good job.
Aside from parental and institutional influence, the media has also played a significant role. From commercials promising higher salaries to college grads,
When I get a degree, I will make a bigger salary.
to depictions of college in TV and movies,
I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality.
the media certainly played a role in impacting the public narrative about college. One millennial remembers how one primetime television show shaped her positive views of college.
I also watched TV shows that kind of promoted college. Like The Cosby Show is one of my favorites, and I still watch it to this day at 5 o'clock. But I was engrossed in college, so I had no other expectation but to go.
Strong promises of financial and career readiness shaped the beliefs and ultimately the expectations these millennials set for what earning a college degree could do for their futures.
I obviously thought like I was going to go to college, I was going to get a high paying job, and then I'd be set for life.
I thought that I was going to be around people who wanted to help me, so like a supportive network, and then financial sustainability. I was always told if you go to college, and graduate, when you graduate, you'll make more money than people who didn't go to college, which turned out to be a myth. But I think that one of the biggest things for me was to be able to graduate and provide for me and my family.
I think my expectation was that by having a degree, there'd be certain jobs that were open to me. Now, I think I had a pretty realistic understanding that a college degree didn't just automatically mean you got a job after college. I kind of prepared myself that it might be harder to find a job just being a new grad. I started hearing throughout college, like, well, if you have a master's degree, depending on your job, there's a possibility that you actually get paid more. Maybe it'll be easier for you to get a job and they'll pay you more. I then realized that wasn't exactly true in my case anyways.
Interestingly, though, a catastrophic nationwide event was top of mind for younger millennials, who were seeing the shockwaves of economic instability affect their older millennial peers.
I also went to college from 2010 to 2014, so it was not that far away from like the 2008 housing crisis where there was a lot of layoffs. I think that impacted my expectations of just knowing, okay, it's a possibility. I might have to go home, live back at home with my parents for a while until I could find a job.
I feel like there was a bit of a shift when I was in high school, maybe like around 2008 to 2010. There started to be a lot of like, people graduating and not being able to get jobs. And that's kind of like the earlier millennials, like the late 80s, right there, millennial group that was coming out of college and they were struggling to find jobs.
Nevertheless, their expectations remained high, and millennials marched into classrooms across the nation. In 2009, college enrollment reached an all-time high, with 40% of millennials reportedly attending a 2 or 4 year institution. But once the caps were tossed and the job hunt began, many found that reality looked very different from what they had imagined.
Like, you have that education, but you're not always getting to use it in a job that's paying a lot of money, like we were told. A lot of us are getting an education and then doing ordinary, I'm not going to say like mundane jobs, but like ordinary jobs that pay like regular salaries, not towards the high end salary range. So like, you're already starting behind the 8 ball kind of when you come out, because you're already in debt. And then the whole plan of trying to, if you want to find your life partner, build a family, buy a house, all those things just become even harder. I just feel like it puts you behind the ball in financial readiness. The financial burden, it's all, yeah. You don't even want to think about it, because you'll just be paying that back for the rest of your life regardless, unless someone wins the lottery. But don't see that happening for me as a public school teacher.
Currently, I recently obtained my doctorate, and I'm still making the same amount of money as prior to obtaining my doctorate. So in terms of that social mobility, I have not yet seen that.
I felt I grew into a more kind of competent, capable woman over my 4 years. While I am extremely happy I got my master's degree, it was a personal goal of mine. It did not impact my earning potential.
So, what exactly happens when an expectation we've set is violated? Communication scholar Judy Burgoon set out to answer that question, and her work led to the development of Expectancy Violation Theory. The theory suggests that people are socialized in ways that shape what they believe should happen in any given situation. When those expectations go unmet, individuals tend to respond in positive, negative, or neutral ways. Although Burgoon first explored how people react to unmet expectations in face-to-face interactions, her work echoes far beyond the interpersonal level. It gives us a path to examine how powerful social messages influence the way entire generations form expectations and make sense of their experiences. Understanding how we react to unmet expectations helps us to see how they shape our feelings, our choices, and even the way we think about the world. So, how did millennials respond when their expectations about financial and career success went unmet? Well, some admit they shifted their career paths, but others say they relied on additional skills from advanced degrees or personal investment to find additional revenue streams.
My journey to my career has kind of been ups and downs and a little crazy. I originally went to college for pre-professional sciences, and I ended up with a degree in biology with a minor in chemistry. I was kind of like looking for a transition. I'd always done really well in my classes in college and had been asked to be a TA for biology 101, biology 102, and then anatomy courses. So I had like some tutoring experience and some TA experience from there. So I looked into teaching.
I ended up graduating college with a Bachelor of Arts in Child and Family Studies with a concentration in child life and a minor in psychology. I then went on to graduate school. I got a Master's of Science in, it's a mouthful, Child Life Administration and Family Collaboration. Part of my master's degree also included 2 post-bac certificates. So I worked as a certified child life specialist. I was licensed, and I did that for about 3.5 years, maybe closer to 4, in a healthcare environment, acute care and outpatient setting. Towards the end of my time working in the healthcare environment, I made a cross-state move and decided at that point I needed a break from that setting. So I wanted to do something else that was related, use my degree. I just really wasn't sure what. I had gotten a master's degree in a very niche field, and went through a whole licensure. So I went through a bit of a kind of crisis of, what does this mean if I'm not actually using this degree that I got? Is that a failure on my part? Is it a waste? I think with time and age and wisdom, I've been able to figure out that some of those base skills are extremely transferable to a lot of different career paths, and have been okay with that.
I also run my own business. I serve as a STEM educational consultant for K-12 and higher education students. And me having my doctorate now, my rate per hour definitely changes. And if I did not go to college and get that doctorate degree for these last 5 years, I wouldn't be able to charge 20 plus more dollars per hour. So I guess if you have multiple streams of income or multiple ways to generate money, it supplements the college education that I did obtain, and I would not take anything for that.
A mix of optimism and healthy cynicism about their own experience tempered millennials, leading them to offer more practical advice for future college hopefuls.
Definitely advise doing just a pros and cons list and be really honest with yourself. In conjunction with the pros and cons list, I definitely think you should do like strengths and weaknesses of your own self. And then after that, just be open to any options. Community college right now is booming. It's booming for multiple reasons. But one of the things is when you go to a community college, you have a more streamlined focus of what you want to study. So by doing those two assessments, I think that will help you figure it out, and then go out and talk to the people who are in the field that you're in.
If what you want to do doesn't require a college degree, then don't go do it. But most things do require some kind of training outside of K-12 education. Because K-12 education is kind of like using like a shotgun effect. We're throwing every single subject at you and expecting you to remember some really important ones that can be used in your day-to-day life. Whereas you need some kind of training to do, especially if you're going to do any other technical job. IT, plumbing, HVAC, those jobs are very high paying from, a relatively short starting time versus going and get a college degree, paying a lot of money, getting a lot in debt for 4 years, and then probably ending up doing something similar, not even using your degree.
So, even though millennials entered a workforce marked by declining livable wages, underemployment, and unemployment rates double the national average, what do they really think about college?
Is college worth it? I do still think college is worth it. If for nothing else, it is worth it for the life experience that it provides people to live away from home and to meet people from different backgrounds, some that might be similar to you, some that are very different from you. That alone is worth it. I think that prepares you for the next step of like entering a workplace where people are going to be different from you. It also expands your mind in such a way that in some classes you have to think differently. You have to open yourself up to reading or talking about things that might be different from what you learned in high school or grew up knowing. And not that it's meant to change your mind, it's just meant to make you a better person and broaden your horizons, and just know that there's more for you outside of where you grew up. And so I do think college is worth it.
A younger generation was waiting in the wings, watching from the shadows, and apparently taking notes.
My siblings are both millennials, so they're quite a bit older than me. It's been interesting because they both have very different paths that they've been on. My brother just has a bachelor's, came out, hated his job, switched jobs. Watching my sister graduating, having a high earning potential, she had a higher degree, and seeing the success that she had, it's probably still even influencing me because now I'm back getting my master's because I'm like, well, she has a higher degree, so, and she's doing better. Both my siblings had gone to college, and so I kind of felt like that was my path. It was a little weird though because I had this dream of getting my esthetician license, and so that does not require a college degree. So actually, when I was looking at schools, I was looking for an entrepreneurship type program.
Today, nearly 42% of Generation Z say that they're actively working in or pursuing a skilled trade job, which means they'll spend significantly less time in the classroom and will statistically make more money without as many overhead expenses. It seems that many Gen Zers have learned from the millennial experience, either about the value of a college degree or the benefits of finding career paths that don't require one and better suit their financial futures.
That plays a large role in kind of looking at those big life changes as far as houses and things like that. From my personal experience with myself and my friends, and I think that a lot of it goes into cost of living is very high, and those expectations again, as far as landing a job that is going to pay you a large amount, was really unrealistic. There needs to be more conversation about the uses of a degree and how it is good, but everyone doesn't need a degree. Our economy functions perfectly fine when we have a diverse set of people in the workplace who do have degrees and don't have degrees. So I think something that could help students kind of be interested in college more is being completely transparent about what college is. A college education isn't a fix all. It won't get you the highest paid job. It won't elevate your status significantly. I think a college education is what you make of it. And sometimes that isn't the right fit for a student, and that's perfectly fine. There needs to be more conversations about other options.
Millennials entered adulthood with high hopes and heavy promises. Generation Z watched from the wings and decided the old path was not the only one. Today, they're choosing differently, building differently, and expecting differently. Their choices remind us that expectations have power, but they're not destiny. The future belongs to those who are willing to question the narrative and write a truer one.